sneaky tactics used in warfare. Throughout history, conventional military might doesn't always guarantee victory. In the modern era, even superpowers with advanced technology and training face unique challenges against unconventional foes. After World War II, the nature of global conflict transformed dramatically. Gone were the days of massive armies facing off across open battlefields. Instead, asymmetric warfare became the norm. Civil conflicts, insurgencies, and guerrilla tactics that turned traditional military advantages upside down. When the enemy refuses to fight by conventional rules, even the strongest military forces must adapt or struggle. These opponents use sneaky tactics, the same approaches underdogs have employed throughout history to level the playing field against superior forces. The American revolutionaries used these methods against the British Empire with raiding parties and ambushes. Napoleon's formidable armies were constantly frustrated by Spanish civilians during the 1808 occupation. He famously called the Peninsular War his Spanish ulcer. Let's dive into 4 remarkable examples of how sneaky tactics have changed the course of military history. Viet Cong tunnel systems. If you think your basement renovation is impressive, wait till you see what the Viet Cong built underneath the jungles of Vietnam. While American forces were busy looking for the enemy to fight in the open, the Viet Cong were playing a deadly game of now you see me, now you don't, with an elaborate underground world. These weren't just simple holes in the ground. We're talking about the ancient ancestor of the modern evil lair. These tunnels had everything. Weapons factories, storerooms packed with rice and ammunition, and even hospitals for treating wounded fighters. Multiple entrances and exits meant that finding and destroying these underground networks was like trying to plug holes in a colander with your fingers. Seal one entrance, and fighters would simply pop up somewhere else. The Viet Cong perfected the art of the hit and run. Why stand toe-to-toe with a boxer who outweighs you by 100 pounds when you can punch him in the kidney and disappear into the night? Strike at night, vanish by dawn, set clever ambushes, then melt away before retaliation arrives. These tactics allowed the Viet Cong to inflict serious damage on American forces without suffering the catastrophic losses that would have come from traditional battles. It's like that annoying younger sibling who pokes you and runs away, except with significantly more lethal consequences. The Afghan graveyard of empires. Fast forward to August 2021, U.S. Marine Corps veteran Elliot Ackerman watches in horror as America pulls its last troops out of Afghanistan. The withdrawal was about as graceful as a giraffe on roller skates, chaotic, poorly executed, and leaving behind enough military equipment to start a small army. 2 decades of fighting, gone in under a year as the Taliban reclaimed the country faster than you can say history repeats itself. But wait, we've seen this movie before. In February 1989, after nearly 10 years of bloody conflict, the Soviet Union pulled its last troops across the Friendship Bridge, retreating from Afghanistan. Despite their overwhelming firepower and 100,000-plus troops, Soviet forces had been worn down by Mujahideen fighters using guerrilla tactics and intimate knowledge of the terrain. And a century before that, the mighty British Empire, you know, the folks who once controlled a quarter of the world's land surface, faced the exact same problem in the exact same place. Despite having superior weapons and training, the British expedition to Afghanistan was a complete disaster. The Afghan fighters used the oldest trick in the book: know your home turf better than the invaders. They seized the high ground in mountain passes, fired their muskets from distances the British couldn't effectively return fire from, and then poof, vanished over hills and into the countryside before the redcoats could say tally-ho. Any British soldier who fell behind picked off like stragglers in a zombie movie. The constant harassment eventually broke British morale, culminating in a massacre at Gandamak Pass. When the smoke cleared, only one man, Dr. William Bryden, made it out alive, along with a few prisoners taken by the Afghans. 3 great powers, 3 retreats, same story. Afghanistan has earned its reputation as the graveyard of empires. through a masterclass in guerrilla warfare, using intimate knowledge of difficult terrain, hit-and-run tactics, and the patience to outlast even the most technologically advanced opponents. The lesson? Even the mightiest military machine can be defeated by fighters who refuse to play by conventional rules, and who know every cave, pass, and valley of their homeland like the back of their hand. In history, the smartest fighters weren't always the strongest. They were the ones who knew how to disappear, strike from the shadows, and leave their enemies confused and vulnerable. In the modern world, there's a different kind of battlefield, and the sneaky tactics being used aren't coming from jungle fighters or mountain ambushers, but data brokers. These digital scavengers quietly gather your personal information, your name, home address, phone number, even where your relatives live, and they sell it off to anyone who's willing to pay for it. No explosions, no uniforms, just quiet, invisible surveillance. That's where today's sponsor, Delete Me, comes in. When you sign up, their privacy experts go to work finding and removing your personal data from those broker sites. You'll get regular reports showing exactly what's been removed, and they keep checking back to make sure it stays gone. For us, that peace of mind is worth it. It's like having your own personal intelligence agency, but one that works for you. If you want to take control of your privacy and stop data brokers from profiting off your personal info, you can get 20% off Delete Me's consumer plans by going to joindeleteme.com/simplehistory and using the code SimpleHistory at checkout. Now, back to it. The fall of Singapore. February 1942, the Gibraltar of the East, the supposedly impregnable British fortress of Singapore, the cornerstone of British military power in Asia. The British had built massive coastal gun fortifications to defend against naval attacks, creating what they believed was an unassailable position. There was just one tiny problem. They were looking in the wrong direction. Enter Lieutenant General Tomoyuki Yamashita, who would later earn the nickname the Tiger of Malaya for this very campaign. While the British expected a naval assault from the south, Yamashita had other plans. His forces swept down the Malay Peninsula, often on bicycles, moving through terrain the British had deemed impassable. The Japanese attacked Singapore from its supposedly secure northern side, the landward approach the British had largely neglected. Yamashita's men captured vital water reservoirs and infiltrated defensive lines under cover of darkness, exploiting the exact blind spots in the British defensive planning. What happened next stunned the world. Despite outnumbering the Japanese attackers, the British surrendered Singapore on February 15, 1942. Over 85,000 British, Indian, and Australian troops became prisoners of war in what Winston Churchill called the worst disaster in British military history. The most remarkable part? Yamashita only had 30,000 men. He was outnumbered by more than 2 to 1. But through deception, surprise, and exploiting his enemy's blind spots, he secured a victory that shattered the myth of European military superiority in Asia. Sometimes, the best way into a fortress is through the front door that everyone assumes is locked. Soviet forces in Stalingrad. While World War II saw plenty of conventional fighting, the Soviet victory at Stalingrad shows that even major powers sometimes need to get sneaky to win. The Soviets turned deception into an art form. False radio messages, dummy positions, and fake troop movements created a military shell game that kept the Germans guessing where the real attack would come from. In November 1942, the Soviets launched Operation Uranus, catching the Germans with their winter pants down. The surprise attack allowed Soviet forces to encircle the German 6th Army in Stalingrad, turning the hunters into the hunted. By 1941, the Soviets had also adapted their tactics to counter the German blitzkrieg, developing reinforced tank brigades and more powerful tank armies. These formations gave them the punch they needed to wear down the previously unstoppable German war machine. The combination of deception and tactical innovation allowed the Soviets to outmaneuver and outfight the Germans at Stalingrad. This victory became the turning point on the Eastern Front and set the stage for the eventual defeat of Nazi Germany. Who says you can't teach an old bear new tricks? Throughout history, sneaky tactics have been the great equalizer, allowing smaller, less powerful forces to stand up against military giants. Whether using tunnels in Vietnam, mountain passes in Afghanistan, or operational deception at Stalingrad, these approaches have repeatedly proven effective. The United States military, like other superpowers before it, continues to adapt to these challenges. Modern counterinsurgency training and tactics show that the Pentagon is learning from past mistakes. As warfare continues to evolve, so too must military strategy. The chess match between conventional forces and guerrilla fighters continues, with each side developing new moves and counter-moves. Sneaky tactics will always be part of warfare's DNA, the clever shortcut that lets David stand a fighting chance against Goliath. And in today's complex world, understanding these tactics isn't just interesting theory, it is essential for survival. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this look at sneaky tactics throughout military history, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more simple history. Thanks again, Delete Me, for sponsoring this video. To get your data removed from the internet, check out Delete Me with our link in the description and get 20% off.